Hey, Guy, guess what?
What?
It's baseball week here on Tim and Guy After Hours, and thrilled to be able to introduce Greg Amsinger, studio host of MLB's Tonight. Welcome to Tim and Guy After Hours, Greg. And all I can say is, as a huge baseball fan, MLB Network and what you guys do is effectively the 24/7 circuit in my life. And I know as guys, if you tune into what we do, talking markets every night, we try really hard to figure out how we can talk about what you guys talk about. So welcome to join us tonight.
Oh, I appreciate you guys sending out the invite. I love watching the two of you do what you do. You got a great vibe. It's a great vibe. It's very chill. And I think what we try to do is very similar. You guys are clearly friends. You can see it on your show.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is at MLB Network. And you guys had Al Leiter on. He's like a brother to me, a very older brother to me.
Now, hold on a second. You just taking a shot at Al? I mean,
of course. I love him to death. He's got like tons of money and he's good looking and he's like, of course.
So
wait a second. I mean, first of all, Greg, you know this and I know this. Al's he's a gargantuan man. I mean, Al should sort of mix a salad in every once in a while. I didn't get a chance to say that last night, but tell me I'm wrong.
Al Leiter is deceiving. His head is gigantic, and that's coming from me. I mean, my head is probably like 3 ounces lighter than Bruce Bochy's, which I think is the largest skull ever.
That's a big head. Marty Grimes.
Al's got a big skull. Al was a really good high school football player in the Jersey Shore. I think he had like some sort of like state sacks record. So he's very physical. He walks up to you. He's one of those guys that pats you in the back, but he hits you extra hard and hurts. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy?" And he grabs your arm and he leaves a bruise. Like he's one of those guys. He's just bigger than you think. But
well,
dude.
he did. We had a lot of fun last night. And by the way, he made it clear he hasn't lost anything off the wiffle ball fastball back at the studio. So we're hoping to take a couple cuts with you guys one of these days. But speaking of cuts, let's jump into what's going on in the world of MLB and COVID-19. And here we are. We're talking about markets every day in the middle of this new normal, and obviously the impact on the rest of the world with the stuff that we're in the middle of. But you guys, I think, are frankly impacting as many people. And I guess the first question is, look, I see you got a sweet beard. Your hair actually looks like it's pretty well coiffed, so you're getting more haircuts than I am. But what are you doing all day? I mean, what's the routine?
Well, first off, it's a slick back, so this is actually really long. It's really
so you're
long.
gelling like me. Yeah, right.
It's the
it's
only
a party
way
in the back.
Right. It's way too long. The beard is because why not? I mean, we have strict rules. They always want us to shave, but I decided to let it grow. What I'm doing all day, I'm obsessed with golf. You guys probably love the sport too. I've been playing a lot of golf. I have a 10-year-old son who loves it. I have 2 kids, been spending time with them. My daughter is a basketball recruit. She wants to play college basketball. She's a junior in high school, so get a chance to work out with her on the basketball court. It's been a great time to just recenter life. We get so caught up in the hamster wheel that we create for ourselves, and we're on the go. And in some way, I feel like that hurt baseball over the past 15 to 20 years is the pace of life just was ramped up. And if I can make a prediction, and I've seen so many people on the street, if I go out jogging and people stop me like, "Man, we miss watching you and Harold laugh every night on MLB Tonight." I really think that America has slowed down, and I think we like that we slow down a little bit. I don't think everybody wants to give away everything that took place during this unfortunate quarantine. There's some sort of recentering that actually benefited a lot of people. And I think the pace of life is going to match the pace of a baseball game more now. And people are craving it. There's a thirst for it. And I think it's going to meet together like it once did back in the 60s and 70s, where people really enjoyed sitting back and watching a 2-hour and 45-minute baseball game.
Well, you're hitting at the pace of baseball, and I'm about to turn it over to you. But that is where the love of the game comes from, right? It is that cadence. It is the pace, and it is almost that which is going on around you while you're living your life. So I love hearing that. Guy, fire away.
No, and I agree with that. And, Tim and I, we grew up out here on the coast. And I think typically when you grow up either on this coast or the other coast, things move a little quicker. You're from St. Louis, and I think we're starting to understand what it means to be from the Midwest. But I got a question for you. You're a St. Louis guy. And I think St. Louis about a decade ago was voted the best sports city in the United States for good reason, as you probably recall. But you can only pick one. Okay, here we go. Forget about whatever football team you have or don't have there. Either the Blues win a Stanley Cup or the Cardinals win the World Series. You can only pick one. What are you going for?
Right now, as the rosters are made up, as it stands in 2020, I would go with the St. Louis Blues winning another Stanley Cup. That was such an epic thing to experience. I was on live television while they were winning the Stanley Cup, and I asked if they could put it on our big spider screen behind the cameras, and I couldn't. It was the worst performance I'd ever had on MLB Tonight. I was looking off the camera while I was on camera just to watch every single goal. It was an epic performance by the team. But to watch the Blues win again, because they've only won one, the Cardinals have won the second most ever behind the Yankees. But if I could throw a caveat in, just one quick caveat, if you told me that after the 2020 season, Albert Pujols, actually after 2021, Albert Pujols eventually leaves and goes back to the Cardinals, and there's a DH in both leagues, and 41-year-old Albert Pujols is a DH, and the Cardinals win the World Series, and him and Yadier Molina put their arms around each other, and they go off into the sunset, winners. I will take that world championship over another Blue Stanley Cup. I know I'm being greedy. I know there's too many details you didn't ask for that guy.
Don't be greedy. Hey, come on, man. And in fact, this is look, the baseball season we're going to get this year is going to have non-conventional components, and purists amongst us, certainly I, as one believer in the senior circuit over the junior circuit, don't really like the DH, but I'm ready to give what baseball gives us this year. And you talk about St. Louis, and again, congrats on the city there and the fan base there, and it's extraordinary. But so now that we've all done this like warm love thing, which fans do you hate? Who do you think? And I don't care how you answer this question, because I realize you have to be careful. We don't go back into that arena, but whether it's fans, obviously people vilify the Dodgers fans for leaving early. People vilify the Phillies fans for throwing batteries at women. What you tell me, and we respect the fact that this may not be an easy question to answer.
Well, it's a great question, actually, because, what I do, I go inside the park for all 15 games a night. So I'm not in the ballpark, but I do get to feel the vibe of the fans. And growing up as a kid in St. Louis, with a team I couldn't stand with, the Cubs. After covering them winning the World Series for the first time since whenever, I grew to really appreciate Cub fans. Cub fans do not like me because all of my buddies, I don't root for the Cardinals on TV. I'm telling you, I don't. I root during commercial breaks. But all of my cohorts, Dan Plesac, Al Leiter, Harold Reynolds, Pedro Martinez, they bring up the fact I'm a Cardinal fan on TV. So that makes Cub fans hate my guts. I love Cub fans. I do. Do you know why I like Cub fans? Because even if things are bad, this sounds terrible. They learned how to lose. They were called the lovable losers, right? So it's in their culture to not really boo. They don't boo their team. I'm not a big fan of booing. And I remember Bryce Harper coming up, and he popped out. He was struggling in one of the months, like maybe the month of May, and he got booed by Philadelphia fans. And I know it's like a badge of honor for Philly fans to boo their favorite players. But if you want a guy who's committed over 10 years to your franchise and you want him to like it there, I don't think in year one or maybe month two, you boo him relentlessly.
He's not a guy.
I'm not a big fan of the booing that comes with Philadelphia fans.
Well, I mean, Bryce of the famous clown show line. Bryce, I'm not worried about Bryce taking care of himself. Take it from there, guy.
No, I was going to say, so it's interesting. I think the worst thing that ever happened to the Cubs, as crazy as this sounds, is the fact that they won the World Series, because I think they reveled in the fact that they hadn't won in 150 years. I think there was some sort of badge of honor that they sort of lost having won it. I think there's probably an emptiness now, as crazy as that sounds. But here's a question that may or may not make sense, and Tim's going to love this question, Greg. Is playing for the Mets the same as playing in New York?
Come on, dude. Really? Yes. We doing this? Are we doing this? You're not, hey, Greg, you're not supposed to laugh at that. And I realize we've had our wars with the White Rat and the Mets and the Cards, but come on, dude.
I'm asking the man a question.
Look, I think it takes more courage to be a Met fan than it does
Thank
to
you.
be a Yankee fan.
I guess thank you.
You're signing. It's like the difference between being a fan of the New York Giants or the New York Jets. I have strict adoption rules, fellas. If you want to change teams, say you're 12 years old and you're like, yeah, I was a kid. And
You're
said,
not allowed, by the way. No, I'm going to push back and say you're
oh, no,
not,
it should be
never
allowed.
No,
No,
well,
listen real quick. Bill Bidwell moved the Big Red to Arizona. Now, little Greg can't go to a St. Louis Big Red Cardinal game anymore. So little Greg is like, I want to be a fan of an NFL team. Little Greg didn't have a team for a while. The Rams came, and I was like, I read about their history. I was like, they're the village bicycle, man. They'll be gone in 20 years, and I nailed it. I was never on the Rams bandwagon.
Yeah.
I moved to the New York area, and I was like, wait a minute. I haven't had a favorite team in forever. So I adopted a team, and I adopted a team that struggled. You cannot adopt a good team. And I adopted the Jets. And I go to Jets games every year, and I struggle, and it's rough, but I am earning my fandom. I'm earning it. So if I was from New York City, I would pick the Mets over the New York Yankees.
Right on, dude. Well, I that's awesome to hear. You are now officially a unofficial Mets fan in addition to your other allegiances. And let's leave it with this, because we talk about business and markets, and I want to talk a little bit about the business of baseball right now. But more importantly, the controversy that's yet again between the players and the owners as it relates to what this deal could look like. And so whether it's little Greg, but how about Big Harold and Big Al and Big Sean and all the guys over there, Big Eric, all your pals over on the desk. I'm curious where the players are lining up as alumni versus active. But this thing about the Blake Snell headlines about not wanting to get anything but full pay because he's on the front line. I realize I'm guessing if he had a chance to restate that, and he might say it a little differently. But his point certainly from the economics is, hey, I deserve every penny I can get right now. Joel Sherman, your colleague, has done a great job, I think, of framing this issue. So talk about that.
Well, look, I think Blake Snell's an awesome person. I've had a chance to talk to him, and I think he's great. Life experience does teach you things, and he's not a parent yet. He's not a provider. He doesn't come from that perspective. And to imagine being a provider in this day and age where you're struggling to get a paycheck, not that he's a very young guy, and he still, gets to be a video game player who chats with all of his buddies through social media. Not to say he's an immature person, but he just hasn't reached a spoke in the ladder that other people have reached when you're a provider for others, when you're a caretaker, when your kids are worried and you're homeschooling them now. And there are different aspects to this. The way I look at it is we all have to pitch in to get through it. And Major League Baseball players have to understand that they're not going to get their full compensation because there are sacrifices that have to be made. I understand that the way they can view this is, which side are you on? The millionaires, which are the players, or the billionaires, which are the owners? And to me, if the billionaires are coming out saying, let's do a 50-50 split, or whatever the profit ends up being at the end of the year, and this is they made a revenue of 10.7 billion last year, they're expecting less than half of that this year. It's hard for me to sit here and say, as somebody that's going to be in my own home or in my car going to a studio where there's social distancing and everything's in place, it's hard for me to say that, hey, that's fair, Mike Trout. That's fair, Blake Snell. That's fair, Bryce Harper. You guys go play and entertain us while we're in the comforts of our own home. And you guys are sliding head first in the home plate, and there's a guy who's sweating who's going to be right on top of you. It's easy for us to sit there and say that. I understand the point of view from the players, and I understand from the owners. At the end of the day, we all have to sacrifice if we're going to get through this without leaving people in the dust. And to not have a season, not play at all because you want your full compensation, to me, is not pitching in your own personal, individual way to help us all get through this. We need baseball. We need a sense of normalcy, and an agreement in some way, shape, or form has to happen for that journey to begin.
Greg,
Amen.
we'd love to. Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
No, go. Yeah.
No, I was to say, listen, we'd love having you on, and Twitter gets us a hard out. But hopefully, if you get us back again, come back with us, join us. We'll talk some more baseball. Hopefully, the season will have started, and get us into the booth there at MLB. That'd be a lot of fun.
Let me know when, fellas. We'd love to have you in there.
We'll come to Secaucus and see it. Greg Amsinger, host of MLB Tonight Studio. Thank you very much for being here. Loved having you.
It was fun. See you guys.